Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're focusing on a place that's, well, it's a real marvel of human endurance and strategic necessity, the Eilat region.
Right.
We mostly know it now as this hyper-modern, sun-drenched resort spot. But what our sources show is this astonishingly complex history hidden just beneath the surface.
It's fascinating.
Let's start with the core puzzle here, the paradox that really sets up this whole deep dive. Eilat exists in what's genuinely a hostile environment.
Oh, absolutely. It's hyper-arid.
Yeah, we're talking only about 28 millimeters of rain annually. That's almost nothing. And then there's massive potential evaporation, like 4,000 millimeters.
And the heat.
And summer heat regularly hitting over 40 degrees Celsius. So based purely on the environment, you'd think it just couldn't support dense settlement.
It seems like an impossible landscape. But then you look at the archaeology, even surveys covering just a tiny fraction of the area have cataloged, 1,500 ancient sites?
1,500, it's incredible.
And what this proves is a continuous sequence of human settlement. It stretches back over 10,000 years.
10,000 years.
This density, like you said, it literally defies the environmental conditions.
So our mission today is to try and figure out the why. What was the irresistible force that drew people, sophisticated populations, to this seemingly, uninhabitable desert and kept them there?
Exactly.
We're going to trace its history from those really deep prehistoric roots right up to its status today as a global hub.
And what we find is that this persistence, it wasn't just about being stubborn. It was all about strategy.
Strategy?
How so? The region's value has always hinged on its position. You've got critical mineral resources, especially copper.
Right, copper.
Then there's its sheer strategic geopolitical location as a gateway, and of course the ancient international trade routes that funneled right through the Araba Valley.
Okay, so let's dig into that. Let's start at the very beginning, and I mean the deep beginning.
Paleolithic times.
Exactly. The first hints of human presence here go way back then, evidenced just by flint hand axes found lying on the surface.
And the most dramatic find really comes from a place called Nahal Zibor. Archaeologists there found this massive collection, something like 1,500 hand axes.
Wow.
And these date human activity way, way back, between 1.5 million and maybe 250,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So incredibly early, if sporadic, use of the area.
But the really amazing insight comes later, doesn't it? When people stopped just sort of passing through and actually figured out how to live there.
Yes.
And incredibly, how to farm.
That's when the innovation truly kicks in. You move into the Neolithic period, starting around the 6th millennium BCE, and you see this dramatic shift towards resource management.
Resource management, like farming.
Yes. Pollen analysis actually confirms they were successfully cultivating domesticated cereals, olives, and grapes.
Olives and grapes in that desert.
The key was the engineering. It's quite ingenious, really.
Okay, tell us about that engineering. Because farming grapes in a place that evaporates 4,000 millimeters of water a year, it sounds like science fiction.
They did it using something called limans. These are basically simple but very clever earth embankments. They built them to channel and, crucially, catch the seasonal flash floodwater.
Ah, so capturing the floods.
Exactly. Holding it in these small, flood-based cultivated fields, they were essentially creating these little micro-oases after every big rain. It was a way to maximize every single drop of that scarce water, instead of just letting it run off.
That is genius. Simple, but genius. And this wasn't just a few small plots, was it? This was done at scale.
Oh, definitely. In the Uvda Valley alone, these liman fields covered roughly 740 acres. That's substantial.
Wow.
And alongside the farming, we started seeing the beginnings of livestock herding. There's evidence from deep layers of sheep and goat dung found in the valley.
What's interesting about the herding, though, is the timing. The sources say it popped up here about 1,000 years after it appeared in more temperate areas further north.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Does that maybe suggest that the folks in Eilat had to solve some unique desert problems first, before they could successfully bring in livestock?
It certainly suggests they were very careful, very strategic about it, bringing a new domestic animal into this really arid zone.
Yeah.
It probably needed established infrastructure already in place.
Like those water-catching limans you mentioned.
Exactly, to support both the people and their herds. It wasn't just a casual adoption. And you see this organized approach confirmed when you look at their specialized agricultural technology.
Like the threshing floors.
Yes. The Uvda Valley has the largest and oldest known concentration of threshing floors in the entire Near East. 32 sites recorded.
32.
This wasn't basic farming. You can actually track an evolution from simple hand-beating methods to using animal-drawn threshing sledges by the late 4th millennium BCE.
So that shows continuity, technological progress, and a pretty stable, organized society.
Precisely.
And that stable society was then perfectly placed to exploit the region's huge mineral wealth, namely copper.
Copper. That's what really put this area on the map, geopolitically speaking. The mining and smelting activity here was immense. It peaked when the area came under the influence of the Egyptian New Kingdom, roughly 1300 to 1150 BCE.
Okay.
Sites like Timna Valley and Nahal Amram were working flat out. Although it's important to note, local populations were definitely mining copper long before and long after the Egyptians were involved.
And you can still see the sheer scale of that ancient industry today, can't you?
You absolutely can. The Bir Ora smelting camp is a fantastic example. The archaeology there, the remains, they suggest a staggering scale. They left behind an estimated 5,000 tons of slag.
5,000 tons of waste product.
Just from smelting copper ore. That tells you right away this wasn't some small local thing. This is an industrial scale operation feeding the international Bronze Age trade networks.
Wow. Okay, so alongside all this industry, the sources also talk about a really deep and active cultural life, specifically this huge number of cult and burial sites.
Yes, these ceremonial sites are just everywhere. We have records of over 92 sites that feature masbot. These are standing stones.
Standing stones?
Yeah.
Like monuments.
Sort of. They weren't just random rocks. These were highly significant ritual objects. Often they served as markers for maybe gods or ancestors, or they marked out ceremonial centers. And to give you an idea of how important they were culturally, one site, Uvda Site 151, had a specific shrine area that contained 69 of these standing stones, all packed together.
69 in one spot. That suggests it must have been a major spiritual hub for a long time.
For centuries,
No,
likely.
yeah.
And the rock art is just as fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
There's an open-air sanctuary near Har Shimon, which is really unique. It has this depiction made entirely of small flagstones stuck vertically into the ground.
What does it show?
It shows 16 leopards, all facing one way, and then a single oryx facing the other way. It gives us this rare visual peek into their symbolic world, really emphasizing the local desert animals.
Okay, so let's fast forward a bit through history. The strategic importance of Eilat, which was known as Eilat back then, it continued through the Nabatean and Roman periods, right?
Absolutely. Eilat was a vital trading port. It connected the Red Sea maritime routes with the land routes heading north towards the Mediterranean.
A crucial link.
Very crucial. And the Nabatean presence was particularly strong. In the Uvda Valley, there was a major settlement complex. We're talking public buildings, tent camps. It shows this kind of socioeconomic organization lasted even after the Nabatean kingdom officially ended around 106 CE.
And the ingenuity just kept going. Even 1,000 years later, during the early Islamic period, we see these massive investments in water engineering again.
Yes, this is in the 8th to 10th century CE. They were building and maintaining qanat systems.
Qanats, what are those exactly?
They're these really elaborate underground water tunnels, often built using a series of vertical access shafts, sort of like wells connected underground. And these particular ones stretched up to 4.5 kilometers long.
Hold on, 4.5 kilometers.
Right.
An underground tunnel that long in a desert? That sounds like years of incredibly hard, probably centralized labor. Why go underground?
Well, it really speaks to how sophisticated they were and how essential water storage was. Going underground tapped into deeper water sources, the aquifers. But critically, it minimized evaporation loss.
Ah, okay.